The foot changes after 60, and for women especially, those changes accumulate in ways the shoe industry has been slow to acknowledge. Not always dramatically, and not always painfully, but it changes. The arch flattens incrementally, a process podiatrists call progressive overpronation. The fatty padding under the heel begins to thin, a condition known clinically as fat pad atrophy. The bones spread slightly. None of this is pathology. It is the accumulated record of a life spent upright. Shoe designers on the whole aren't thinking about this. They're thinking about a line, the clean horizontal of a pointed toe, the lift of a high heel, the unbroken silhouette of a backless slide. These are aesthetic decisions made for a 28-year-old foot in a studio in Milan or Paris, and they work beautifully for that foot. For a foot that has been walking for 6 decades, they often don't work at all. Not because elegance has to be sacrificed for comfort, but because the designers were solving for the wrong problem. Elegance in footwear at this stage of life comes down to material and proportion. A shoe made from soft, full-grain leather moves with the foot rather than against it. It breathes. It conforms over time without losing its shape. The color tends toward the restrained: camel, deep navy, ivory, a dark burgundy. Not because bolder choices are wrong, but because these tones do what a truly elegant shoe is supposed to do. They draw attention to the woman wearing them, not to her feet. Support, on the other hand, is structural. A shoe that supports the foot correctly has a footbed that's contoured to the arch, not flat, and not a foam insert that compresses on the first wearing. It has a heel cup that holds the heel stable, preventing the sideways drift that puts strain on the ankle and knee. The sole is firm enough to resist torsion. If you can twist a shoe like a wet towel, it isn't giving your foot anything to push against, and critically, it attaches to the foot. A shoe that can be kicked off without undoing anything is a shoe that requires your muscles to work constantly just to keep it on. These two sets of qualities, elegant and supportive, are not in competition. Every shoe in this guide has both. The first shoe solves the complaint that comes up most consistently in comment sections across every fashion channel aimed at women over 60. The pointed toe. It looks refined from a distance. What it does inside the shoe is force the toes into a narrowing cone that has nothing to do with the shape of a human foot. And for women who have developed a bunion, or hallux valgus as it is clinically known, that narrowing cone is not an inconvenience. It is the direct cause of significant pain. The almond-toe is a different proposition. The front of the shoe still tapers to a gentle point, which preserves the elegant line, but it tapers more slowly, and it stops before it reaches absurdity. There is room for the toes to lie flat. There is no lateral compression. The Vionic Kensley loafer in camel or black is the version of this that comes up most consistently among women who have spent real time searching. The footbed is designed with podiatrist input and carries the APMA seal of acceptance from the American Podiatric Medical Association. It has a deep heel cup and arch support that runs the full length of the insole, and it is firm enough to actually do something about overpronation. The Clark's Margot loafer covers similar ground at a lower price point. The Ecco Sartorelli 25 adds a slight platform under the forefoot that takes pressure off the ball of the foot on longer days, directly addressing the metatarsalgia, or ball of foot pain, that affects a significant proportion of women in this age group. All three come in an almond-toe, and none of them look like medical equipment. A heel that's under 4 centimeters and shaped like a block, meaning its base is as wide as its top, is structurally different from a stiletto in ways that matter beyond aesthetics. The weight is distributed over a wider surface area. The ankle isn't fighting to maintain balance on a point. The gait stays close to natural. The Arche Nesta pump is made in France by hand, and the insole is a cork and latex composite the company has used since the 1970s. It forms gradually to the specific contours of the wearer's foot. Over the first few weeks, it becomes a record of how your foot sits, and after that, it fits in a way that no shoe pulled straight off a shelf can match. The German brand Gabor makes a version of this heel in a range of widths, wider than most. Their G-width and H-width fittings cover a span that most mainstream brands don't come close to, which matters because a foot that has broadened over the years often can't find a standard fitting that doesn't compress the midfoot. The Arche Hamburg pump covers the same category, with a leather lining and a padded collar at the heel, and that collar prevents the rubbing that low-cut pumps often cause at the back of the ankle, which is a small detail that becomes less small after 3 hours on your feet. Several comments under the sandal and shoe videos on this channel said roughly the same thing. Slides are deadly on uneven ground, on cobblestones, on gravel, on a terrace that's slightly wet. And the reason is straightforward. A shoe that doesn't attach to the back of the foot requires constant muscular effort to keep it on. And that effort subtly changes how you walk. The stride shortens. The heel strike changes. The whole gait becomes slightly more tentative because some portion of your attention is managing the shoe rather than where you're going. A Mary Jane strap changes all of that. The adjustable buckle across the instep holds the foot in place, and the shoe becomes part of the foot rather than something the foot is balancing on. The Vionic Josie has a strap in genuine leather. The buckle adjusts in small increments, and the footbed is the same contoured construction as the rest of the Vionic range. The Mephisto Mandy covers similar ground with a cork and rubber outsole that's exceptionally good on uneven surfaces. The Camper Ride has a chunkier silhouette than either of them. Some women prefer it, and the fit accommodates a wider forefoot without requiring a size up. The square toe gets less attention than the almond toe, but it deserves more. It gives the toes the most room of any toe shape while maintaining a contemporary, somewhat architectural line that reads as deliberate rather than orthopedic. For women managing bunions or a wider forefoot from decades of spreading, it's often the most immediately comfortable option. It's also a silhouette that's had real currency in European fashion for the past several years, which means it doesn't announce itself as a concession to anything. The heel counter, the firm cup at the back of the shoe that holds the heel bone, is what separates a slip-on that's actually wearable for more than an hour from one that collapses into a flat slipper by mid-morning. When it's present and well constructed, the heel stays centered. When it isn't, the foot rolls slightly inward with every step, and by early afternoon, the whole lower leg knows about it. The Arche has a heel counter that's unusually high for a slip-on. It sits at a height normally only found in lace-ups. The leather is matte and butter soft from the first wearing, which means there's no breaking in period where your heel is being punished. The Paul Green 1063 is narrower across the forefoot, which some women prefer, and it comes in a range of European widths that's more precise than most brands bother with. The slide became a wardrobe staple in a different decade. For light, low-activity wear on flat, dry surfaces, a well-made slide isn't necessarily problematic, but it shouldn't be the default sandal because it carries a real cost in stability that compounds in proportion to the unevenness of the ground. The backstrap sandal is the direct alternative. It looks similar. The upper sits across the foot in roughly the same place, but there's a strap that goes around the heel, and that strap is the whole difference. The foot is held in place, and the gait doesn't have to compensate. The Vionic rest, Lisbeth, has a footbed that's among the most contoured available in a sandal at this price point. Deep arch, heel cup, a firm platform that doesn't rock side to side. The Naot Corso, made in Israel from hand-sewn leather, has an anatomically shaped cork and latex footbed that molds over time, similar in principle to the Arche construction. For women who prefer the Birkenstock aesthetic but need a backstrap, the Birkenstock Mayari crosses the foot in two directions and creates a stable hold without the weight of a full closed shoe. There's a version of the leather Oxford that most women have seen in the context of school uniforms and nursing corridors, and it's not this shoe. The supportive leather Oxford made well is one of the most genuinely elegant shoes a woman can wear, and it's a category that women over 60 have largely ceded to younger women for reasons that aren't entirely clear. The Pikolinos Royal Oxford is made in Spain from hand-stitched leather, and the toe box is wide enough that the foot doesn't compress at all across the forefoot. The lacing system allows for a precise fit across the instep that no slip-on can replicate, and that precision means the shoe doesn't shift, which means the walk is clean and unhurried. The Ecco Bella Ballerina covers similar ground in a lighter silhouette. It's technically a lace-up flat rather than a full Oxford, which makes it a slightly easier introduction to the category for women who've spent years in heels and aren't yet certain how they feel about a completely flat sole. The kitten-heel, between 3 and 5 centimeters, slender but not extreme, does something specific for posture that a flat shoe doesn't. It tilts the pelvis forward very slightly, and that tilt can reduce lower back strain in women whose backs respond better to a mild heel elevation than to a completely flat sole. It's also, for many women, simply closer to what they've worn their whole adult life. The move to a flat can feel abrupt in a way that's not just aesthetic. Women who've also been told they need to address plantar fasciitis, the inflammation of the connective tissue along the base of the foot that peaks most frequently in women between 40 and 60, often find a small heel elevation part of the prescription anyway. What makes the kitten-heel mule work here is the back strap. Without it, a kitten heel is inherently less stable than a flat. It concentrates weight onto a smaller point, and if the foot shifts sideways at all, the consequences arrive faster. With a back strap, that risk is largely managed. The Arche Hilanda achieves this in ivory, black, and a warm caramel leather. The back strap is elasticated rather than buckled, which means it gives slightly as the foot moves, and on warm days when the foot swells, that matters. The Corso Como caddy covers the same silhouette at a lower price point and in a wider range of colors, though the insole is less contoured than the Arche. Some women add their own orthotic insert and find that resolves it. The brands that appear consistently across this category aren't all easy to find in the same places, so knowing where each one lives is useful. Vionic is the most accessible, stocked in most department stores and widely available online. The biomechanics research behind the footbeds came from podiatry, not fashion, and the APMA seal of acceptance on several of their styles reflects that. Arche is French, handmade, and more expensive. The cork and latex insoles form to the foot with wearing, and most stock is through specialist shoe retailers or their own website. The sizing is French, which runs slightly large by Australian or British standards. Arche is German, with an unusually wide range of width fittings. If you've spent years finding that standard shoes compress the midfoot slightly, an Arche fitting is often the first time that part of the foot is actually accounted for. Mephisto has been making shoes in the Alsace region of France since 1965, and their outsoles are a proprietary cork and natural rubber construction that performs particularly well on uneven ground. Ecco is Danish, widely distributed, and the most accessible of the European comfort brands. Pikolinos is Spanish hand-stitch leather. Wide toe boxes as a design standard, which makes them a natural fit for 60-plus foot care. Gabor is Bavarian, known for its width range, specifically the G&H width fittings that address the midfoot broadening most standard lasts ignore. The shoe industry spent a long time deciding what a woman's foot should look like in a shoe. It arrived at conclusions that were mostly aesthetic and occasionally painful. Women who are 60 and older now grew up in that system, and many of them spent decades wearing shoes that fit the expectation better than they fit the foot. The brands and styles in this guide exist because enough women eventually asked for something different. The shoes have been there, in some cases for decades, made by small companies in France and Germany and Spain that were never particularly interested in what was showing at Fashion Week. The choice between your health and what you wear on your feet was never the actual constraint. It was a failure of product, not a fact of life.